reaffirms my belief in my knowledge of God. Science does not deny the existence of a creator. Even the ideas that things can be created from nothing, that indicates that such a power exists, but it is a power that is unknown to us and unknown to all of the forces of the universe. It's just that this exists. Yeah, it exists because God has that power. And God can make things happen. And God makes them happen with a purpose. And all of the world and all of the universe has a purpose. And what is the purpose? The purpose is for goodness to be supreme and for us to actualize the source of that goodness, which is God. Evolution does not explain that man has a conscience, that man wants to be kind for the most part, man wants to be good, except that our selfishness gets in the way. And that's the whole struggle of existence. The whole struggle of existence is not to discover the ultimate reality. The struggle for existence is that our nature to be truthful and good is conflicted by the nature to be selfish. And only when we can overcome the selfishness will this world have reached its goal. This week's Torah portion starts with the words Vayikra. And Vayikra means and God called. God called to Moses deliberately. But the word Vayikra is written with 4 letters, but the 5 letters, but the 5th letter is a small letter. It's an alef. And Rashi explains, and the Torah explains, the rabbis explain, the reason why there's a small letter written in the Torah, in the way in which the scribe will write the letters, he'll write the alef, the last letter, the last vowel, smaller than the other 4 letters, Vav Yud Kuf Resh. Why is that so? Because Moses was humble, and that God called to him and to no one else. Moses felt nothing special. The reason why God called to him was only for the sake of the people of Israel. So it wasn't anything special on his part. It was just that he was the focal point, the place where God would reveal what was necessary for the people of Israel. But then again, why the small alef? Why not some explanation? An alef is a silent letter. An alef doesn't have much of a vibration. An alef, however, stands for the beginning of wisdom. The word alef means to learn, to study. And it is the beginning of studying, the beginning of knowledge. What is the beginning of knowledge? Well, let me postulate this for you. Most people don't want to come to obvious conclusions. They say before you can make a conclusion, you have to have absolute proof. Most of the people who say that are people who are upset that somebody else has discovered something that they haven't, or that the discovery negates things that they want to hold dear. I'm sure that when they discovered penicillin, or when they discovered certain types of treatments for diseases, those who had made a killing on certain equipment and certain other medicines were very, very upset. The manufacturers of the iron lung were very, very upset with the Salk vaccine because that put them out of business. People who made harnesses for horses were probably very, very upset with Henry Ford for making the automobile so inexpensive. Most of the time, people who say you have to verify are people who are upset that somebody else has gotten this. Somebody else is going to be successful, and not themselves. Nonetheless, we do have to verify. But the first thing is you have to understand is that a person is endowed with the ability to understand and to observe and to make conclusions. And the conclusions that one makes from observation often are conclusions that comes from the depths of one's intellect, one's creative self. Because only a creative self can recognize a creative element in the world. Somebody who has no alpha brain, who's only able to expand in other things, mental gymnastics, can't see new things and is jealous of those who can. Vayikra, and God called. There's another expression which is Vayikar, and God just happened to be there. And the word Vayikar is related to prophets who are not Jewish prophets, not prophets of Israel. Bilam, it says, Vayikar Hashem el Bilam, and God happened to Bilam. Why the difference? The answer is, to Bilam, it just happened. He was going on his merry way. He wanted to do certain things, and God happened to intervene and get in his way. It wasn't really that God wanted to do this. It wasn't really that this was the divine intent. It's just a coincidence. It just happened that way. When things don't go the way a villain wants, he finds excuses. He doesn't want to admit that maybe God doesn't want him to be successful as a villain. On the other hand, Moses didn't say just happened. Even if it was unpleasant, Moses recognized that it came from God. And that's why it's an alef that's small, because it represents a small difference between the skeptic and the creative mind. The creative mind that looks for truth recognizes just how little and how small we are, and wants to find the truth that exists within the world. And God, in his goodness, reveals to that seeker a little bit of the truth. The skeptic doesn't want to upset his apple cart. He wants to remain with his previous ideas. He wants to remain with his previous images. And so therefore says, wait a second, we gotta go ahead and we have to verify this. And therefore by him it's Vayikar. Just so happened, this is an unusual occurrence, but it's not meant to be a rule. And so there you have the conflict between the one who wants to keep the status quo and the one who sees creativity all around them. And let me tell you this. I see God all around me. I see the hand of God and the creative hand of God all over, including in scientific discovery. Some of you out there don't want to upset the apple cart. You just want a world that happened by itself, that runs by itself, where there is no moral judgment and there is no universal standard by which we are measured, while we live and after we live. And that's the purpose of this alef of Vayikra. Open your eyes and see that even the science verifies that Hashem is one, that there is a universal creator with a divine purpose in every phase of existence, in every phase of our lives. The purpose of which is to get the truth, to get a person to bend his ego to goodness.